Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Well, first tonight, Tasmania remains on track to open to COVID-safe states in just 1 week, but the jury is still out on New South Wales. Premier Peter Gutwein is hopeful that could change at the start of November, but health authorities say they need more time.
Passengers are few, shutters are down, but there's hope the appetite for travel will return.
Our passenger forecasts indicate that we should be at around 50 to 60% pre-COVID levels by the summer period, so early next year.
In a sign of confidence, Hobart Airport is revamping its bars and eateries, giving shop space to local brands waiting for tourists.
It's a long way from the farm, but only 10 minutes by car, so certainly we're very happy to be involved.
Next week, Tasmania will finally open its borders exclusively to COVID-safe states. Authorities are carefully monitoring New South Wales,
with the hope that we may be able to ease our border restrictions with that state in the first week of November.
Reopening to Victoria is still planned for December 1.
At this stage, there is no change to that.
Meanwhile, another New Zealand national has arrived in Tasmania after 5 landed in Launceston over the weekend. This Friday, Public Health will decide if Kiwi travellers will be allowed to skip quarantine if coming from safe states.
Our life is almost back to normal. It is a COVID normal.
COVID complacency remains a concern. Authorities are anxious after a drop in daily testing.
We need to be doing 500 to 600 tests, not 400 to 500.
And with footy finals on this weekend, Tasmanians are being reminded the rules are for 20 guests at home, plus household members.
You can have a fair bit of kick to kick with 12 people at either end, if your backyard's big enough.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government's Westbury Prison proposal has hit another stumbling block, with drilling at the new site delayed for the second time in just over a week. Contractors met by a mob of angry protesters early this morning as a legal expert pitches a radical overhaul of the plans.
They arrived at Birrelly Road ready to work, but within an hour the contractors were leaving to cheers from protesters.
They haven't told us when they're coming back. They don't tell us when they're arriving. They didn't even tell the police when they were arriving.
The suspected reason for the early departure?
A tree bough hanging over the gateway, so we could see immediately they weren't going to be able to get in there.
But the official line from the government, the protesters themselves caused the delay.
There's a due diligence that has to be made, has to be done, and of course the drilling is part of that.
It's the project's second stumble at the starting block in just over a week, after fears environmental protections could apply. This as concerns grow over the site's suitability and the impact on native wildlife.
We've got echidnas there, we've got rare orchids there. It's the middle of the breeding season for mammals, for birds.
One leading Tasmanian lawyer believes a second prison is not needed.
We don't want to see a razor wire replica of Risdon Prison. Risdon is a disaster.
Rather, a nation-first rehabilitation centre to slash the alarming rates of reoffending.
In a space where they're getting education, health and lifestyle skills so that they can come back in and be reintegrated in the community.
After today's delay, the government hopes it will be third time lucky when works can start here again. It could be as soon as tomorrow. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Inexperience may be to blame for a crash near Oatlands, which left 2 teenagers with injuries. Emergency services were called to the scene on York Plains Road around 8:40 last night. The 18-year-old male driver was flown to the Royal Hobart Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. An 18-year-old woman was also treated at the scene. Tasmania Police is about to reach new heights, receiving new drones, which will be deployed across the state. Previous models have proven a success and have been used in hundreds of operations.
Our authorities protecting Tasmania with a set of eyes in the sky. The latest drones taking flight after previous models proved successful.
These drones have been used over the last 12 months, the original drones, in 227 occasions to assist police in what they do.
Search and rescues, serious crashes, evade incidents and police standoffs are just some of the operations drones have aided. And they can speed up police work.
When a road is normally shut for a number of hours, we're able to deploy a drone, get 3D imaging and modelling of the scene and then leave and reopen the road.
20 officers in Tasmania have been trained to pilot these drones to aid with police operations. There will now be a total of 20 drones for officers to use across the state. And if you wonder how much this costs, well, it's definitely up there. The drones costing up to $30,000 each. But while the price tag may be sky high, it's saving thousands.
When we deploy the Westpac Rescue helicopter, it's expensive and it takes a lot of resources to deploy. Being able to deploy drones, sometimes in conjunction with a helicopter or instead of the helicopter, is certainly a cost saving for us.
The drones also have the capacity to drop a rope or equipment during a rescue and has thermal capabilities to detect people. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Another sneak peek of what the new Bridgewater Bridge could look like has been released. The government is now calling for community feedback on this reference design. The decision on who will build the long-awaited project has been narrowed down to 4 companies, which will be shortlisted to 2 in December. The final contract will be awarded at the end of next year. The University of Tasmania has announced plans to cut ties with all investments linked to fossil fuels. UTAS expects to make the change by next year. Vice-Chancellor Rufus Black says the university could not work against Tasmania's ecosystems and needs to play a part in the zero-carbon economy. They look harmless, but beneath the surface, boat moorings are wrecking seabeds critical to ocean life. Now, one Tasmanian group is diving into the challenge of turning that around.
These scientists out in the water tackling an issue out of sight and out of mind. Installing environmentally friendly moorings.
A lot of people don't know about the amount of damage that's been done.
Here at Northwest Bay, from the surface the moorings look harmless, but from above the holes surrounding these boats are clear, caused by heavy chains dragging across the seabed.
That mooring line, that chain on the bottom, holds the vessel nicely in place due to its weight, but at the same time it causes a lot of damage to the seabed as the vessel moves around in shifting wind patterns.
Chain moorings aren't particularly good for a variety of threatened species, not only handfish but other things like seagrasses.
Now working to replace the damaging material with strops like this.
The strop is neutrally buoyant, so it will sit up in the water column, it sits off the seabed, and because of that we're not having that heavy impact of chain thrashing onto the seabed constantly.
It's one of 2 projects to share $630,000 of federal funding as a part of the Fisheries Habitat Restoration Program.
We'll be working with leaseholders, the mooring leaseholders, to make that transition so that they can try out this new technology and then share it with other boat owners as well.
And it's not just protected species that are set to benefit from the new mooring.
It will be a boon for recreational fishers. When we create a better, more inviting environment for these fish species, it means there'll be more fish in coastal areas right up and down the Derwent.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
An educational program is inspiring the next generation of doctors and nurses. A life-size simulator of a Royal Flying Doctor Service fuselage and cockpit is visiting primary schools across Tasmania, giving children a first-hand experience of what the organisation does.
We're trying to let kids know and the general community know about who the Flying Doctors is and how it's in your community right now.
Because you can probably know what it's like to be out there. It can be very scary.
The organisation is hosting 68 educational sessions at 14 schools across the state.
After claiming an incredible 4 flags over the weekend, the Launceston Football Club has welcomed the likes of Steve Irwin and Spider-Man for Mad Monday celebrations. But the grand final win has a costly hangover, with Mitch Thorpe rubbed out for 3 games and the biff spreading into the stands.
A super side deserves a super theme.
So you're going to be saving a few of these guys today?
Oh yeah, no doubt, from alcohol poisoning or something like that. Launceston's premiership heroes became just that after an heroic 4 flags across the weekend, adding the under-18s title to the collection yesterday.
Having 4 sides make it and then 4 sides win, I doubt that's happened around Australia, to be honest.
The Mercury rising and their coronation into TSL royalty now complete. The only ball needed today was a wrecking ball.
High up in the sky now.
Their post-game performance sky high.
Jamison House coming as, he doesn't really know, it's either Joe Dirt or apparently the Wynyard Mare.
The scraps still haven't stopped though. Steve Irwin got off lightly, but Mitch Thorpe will miss 3 games of 2021 for striking Alex Lee. The hit was out of frame, but a groggy Lee was spied in the aftermath.
Alex Lee split across the top of the nose like a chook's foot.
Thorpe was again in the match review panel's crosshairs.
Thorpe comes in and goes back. Thorpe, music cut, they're on.
Copping a reprimand for instigating a melee. North Launceston's Tom Donnelly can also accept a reprimand for striking Alec Wright in the scuffle, and that wasn't all.
Jamison House has taken the angry pills.
House will cop a 1-match ban for striking North's Bart McCulloch, and the fists were flying off-field too. Police say no formal reports were made, but the Blue marred what was a high-yielding day for the Blues, creating their own dynasty now firmly in mind.
We finally had the results, I guess, that we deserve, and hopefully we can keep this success happening for the next couple of years to come.
By bobsleigh or bus, the Blues who's who say they're sticking together to make it happen.
The TSL's most decorated player has landed a new coaching role. Glenorchy legend Jay Bowden will lead St Virgil's in the Old Scholars League next year as playing coach. The 3-time Alastair Lynch medalist hung up the boots in the State League this year after 244 games. Tasmania's had a productive start to its Sheffield Shield clash against South Australia, rolling the Redbacks for 195, Bo Webster taking 3. Tasmania's reply has been lukewarm though, with Jordan Silk going for a duck in the first over and Alex Doolan following close behind.
You wouldn't have thought the Tigers were coming off an innings loss as Peter Siddle set a very different tone.
Edges, and he's caught it second slip.
The Bleach Blondes blitz didn't break, putting pressure on the Redbacks' order, Nathan Ellis claiming their second.
There's an edge, what a take!
Tim Payne had his eye in, Alex Doolan did too.
And they'll get a quick single to mid-off. And he's out, he's run out, a brilliant throw.
At 3 for 33, life was good in Tigerland, and as Henry Hunt started to settle, Siddle struck again.
Oh, and there's an edge, and that's a great wicket.
Another prize wicket when Ellis claimed Callum Ferguson, and after 42 overs, Tom Andrews made his debut in Tigers colours after being recruited from the Redbacks. His innings wouldn't yield a wicket, but other bowlers did, including a beauty from Jackson Bird.
Worked off the pads and caught.
Harry Nilsson fought hard for the Redbacks before going for 64 to wind up their innings.
Good evening. Fine apart from a light shower over the west and far south today. Nothing of great note though. Hobart and Devonport 16 degrees. Launceston with 19, the warmest. Burnie 17 today. Most temperatures sat below average. Friendly Beaches 18, Bushy Park 17, St Helens 16 degrees. Flinders Island, Low Head, Grove and Strawn 15, King Island 14 and Lyawini 12. Extensive low-level cloud over the west, south and east of the state. Sunny conditions through the north and the Midlands. Low-level cloud in the wake of a cold front is over much of southeast Australia. Low cloud off the New South Wales coast. Some high-level convective cloud over parts of WA, South Australia and the NT. Tomorrow a high to our northeast extends a ridge back over our north. A cold front approaches from the west. Surface lows and troughs remain over the rest of the country. Winds west-northwesterly at 5 to 15 knots, increasing to 20 knots in the afternoon. Swells to 3.5 metres. Tuesday in Hobart, 18 and partly cloudy. Maybe a light shower over Adventure Bay, 17 the top, Tarraleah 17 as well. Launceston expecting 19 degrees and partly cloudy, Devonport 16 and 15 for Bridport. Burnie, partly cloudy and 17, 15 the high for Strawn. Maybe a light shower there. Marrawar 14 and partly cloudy. St Helens expecting 20 degrees, partly cloudy. Swansea 20, 16 the high for Whitemark. On Wednesday, a cloudy day with a shower over the west and south, possibly the southeast as well. Mostly fine over the west and northwest, but a shower or two elsewhere on Thursday. And on Friday, around a 40 to 50% chance of showers, so an even money bet there. Partly cloudy weather for most centres on the North Island tomorrow, 26 in Perth, 25 for Adelaide, Melbourne a bit cooler, Brisbane expecting a warmish 27, but Darwin the top with 33. Bit of cloud over Hobart, 14 currently, 14 and sunny in Launceston, 15 right now in Devonport. It was a wet show day in Launceston. Looks like the Royal Hobart show day will also be a wet one, Kim.
Okay, thanks very much, Murph. That's all we have time for tonight. Thanks for being with us on behalf of the team. Good night.